The massive crystal chamber buzzed with voices from 1,000 different worlds. Ambassador Jin Ho sat in the small human section, watching aliens of every shape and size fill the enormous space. Some floated in glowing bubbles. Others needed special suits to breathe. All of them looked terrified. Commander Hyunwoo leaned close to Jin Ho. His old face was worried. They won't even look at our reports. Jin Ho nodded. Humans were always ignored here. The other species thought Earth people were too primitive to matter. They had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humans had only learned to fly between planets 50 years ago. At the center of the chamber, a huge display showed the horror that came from the heart of the galaxy. The thing had no real name. Everyone just called it the Devourer. It looked like a massive shadow with tentacles of dark energy. Wherever it went, entire star systems simply vanished, not destroyed, not broken apart. They just stopped existing, like they had never been there at all. 17 civilizations were already gone. Billions of beings, erased from reality. Hi, Counselor Vexithari stood up. She was from the Zephyrian Empire, and her people could bend reality itself. Her crystal body sparkled as she spoke. This threat is serious, but we can handle it. Our reality shapers will twist space and time to trap this creature. The crystalline collective's speaker pulsed with bright colors. This species shared one giant mind across trillions of bodies. Our unified consciousness will plan the perfect defense. No single entity can match our coordinated thinking. Other species leaders spoke up. The Void Touched had technology older than Earth's sun. The Metal Brotherhood had built machines that could remake planets. The Thought Weavers could fight with pure mental energy. Each one was confident their ancient powers would save the galaxy. Jin Ho slowly stood up. The chamber was so large his voice barely carried. Honored counselors, Earth wants to help. Laughter filled the air, not friendly laughter. The cruel kind that made Jin Ho's face burn with shame. Vexithari's voice was cold and sharp. Human, your species barely knows how to travel faster than light. This is beyond what your primitive minds can understand. Take your little ships and run away while we handle real warfare. Dr. So Young sat behind Jin Ho, holding her tablet tight. Inside were years of research on quantum connections between minds, research that could change everything. But no one would listen to humans, they never did. The other species kept talking about their great powers. The Zephyrians would reshape reality. The collective would think as one perfect mind. The Void Touched would use weapons from the dawn of time. Each species was sure they alone could save everyone. But Jin Ho noticed something they missed. Behind all their proud words, he saw fear in their ancient eyes. Deep, cold fear that maybe their powers wouldn't be enough this time. The meeting ended with grand speeches about certain victory. Representatives filed out, making plans to defend their homeworlds with technologies humans couldn't even understand. Commander Hyunwoo waited until they were alone. They're scared. Yes, Jin Ho said quietly. More scared than they want to admit. What do we do? Go home and wait to die? Jin Ho looked at Dr. So Young, who was still staring at her research. Maybe there's another way, something they haven't thought of because they're too focused on individual power. What do you mean? They all think the same way. Each species believes their technology is the answer. But what if technology isn't enough? What if this thing requires something else entirely? Dr. So Young looked up. You mean the quantum research? I mean what makes humans different. We're not the strongest or smartest, but we're the only species that learn to work together by choice, not by biological programming like the collective. The chamber was almost empty now. In a few hours, the great fleets would launch. Ancient weapons would fire. Reality itself would be twisted into new shapes. And Jin Ho suspected it would all fail. We need to get back to Earth, he said. If we're right about what's coming, humanity might be the galaxy's last hope, and we'll need every human alive to make it work. Commander Hyunwoo frowned. Every human? What are you planning? Jin Ho looked at the empty chamber where the most powerful beings in the galaxy had just dismissed his species as worthless, something they would never expect. something that goes against everything they believe about power and survival. As they walked toward their small transport ship, Dr. So Young spoke quietly. The quantum entanglement experiments showed something incredible. Human minds can connect in ways no other species can, not through biology like hive minds, but through choice and shared purpose. Even across the entire galaxy? Theoretically, yes, but it would require every human to participate willingly. And the process, we don't know if anyone would survive. Jinho stopped walking. Through the chamber's crystal walls, he could see the great warships of ancient civilizations preparing to face the Devourer. Ships larger than cities, powered by technologies that could remake reality itself. Soon, he suspected, they would all be nothing but memories. Then we better start convincing 8 billion humans to trust us with their lives. Captain Minseok stood on the bridge of his ship New Sol, staring at the empty space where the Zephyrian home system used to be. Just hours ago, 11 planets had orbited their star, surrounded by impossible geometric structures that bent light and gravity. Now there was nothing, not even debris. Just cold, empty space. Sir? Navigation Officer Yunji called from her station. Her voice shook. I'm getting broken radio signals from the Crystalline Collective. Their main hive nodes are going dark, one after another. Minseok watched the tactical display update in real time. Red markers showed where star systems had vanished. The pattern was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. The Devourer wasn't just destroying things, it was erasing them from existence entirely. Chief Engineer Tae-hyun looked up from his console, face pale. Captain, I'm reading strange energy patterns. Whatever that thing is, it's not following normal physics. It's actually changing the basic rules of how reality works as it moves. The great Zephyrian fleet had arrived at their home system just in time to watch it disappear. Ships that could reshape reality itself simply winked out of existence when they got too close to the Devourer. Their most powerful weapons did nothing. Their reality-bending technology failed like broken toys. Minseok opened a secure channel to Earth. General Hyojin's weathered face appeared on the screen. She looked tired and grim. General, the situation is much worse than we thought. The advanced civilizations are falling faster than dominoes. All their technology means nothing against this thing. I know, Captain. We've been listening to the emergency broadcasts. Civilizations that ruled the galaxy for millions of years, reduced to refugee ships in just days. General Choi paused, looking at something off-screen. Dr. Lee's team has a proposal. It's unlike anything we've ever attempted. What kind of proposal? One that would require our entire species, Captain, every single human everywhere. Minseok felt his stomach drop. I'm listening. Before the general could answer, Tae-hyun called out urgently, Captain, the void-touched fortress worlds are under attack. On the main screen, they watched ancient structures that had protected the galaxy's edge for 10,000 years simply dissolve. The void-touched had technology so old and powerful that other species worshipped them like gods. Their weapons could punch holes through dimensions. Their shields could stop exploding. Stars. None of it mattered. The Devourer flowed over their defenses like water through paper. Sir, Yunji reported, the Metal Brotherhood's core worlds are sending distress signals. Their planet-sized machines are shutting down. They say their AI networks are going insane. The Metal Brotherhood had built artificial minds that could calculate the movement of galaxies. Their robots could rebuild destroyed worlds in days. Now their greatest creations were screaming in electronic terror before falling silent forever. Minseok turned back to General Choi. General, whatever Dr. Lee is planning, we're running out of time. How long before that thing reaches human space? At current speed, maybe 2 weeks. But Captain, its influence is spreading faster than the entity itself. Space is becoming unstable. Some of our outer colonies are reporting that the laws of physics are starting to break down. Lieutenant Daeho, monitoring long-range sensors, confirmed the worst fears. Sir, I'm detecting reality distortions heading our way. Whatever the Devourer does to space, it spreads outward like ripples in water. Even if we run, we can't escape it. The communication screen flickered as more reports came in. The Thought Weavers, who could fight with pure mental energy, had tried to attack the Devourer directly. Their psychic assault had no effect. Worse, several of their greatest minds had simply stopped thinking, as if their consciousness had been erased. "Captain," General Choi continued, "Dr. Lee believes human minds have a unique property, something about how we evolved to work together by choice, rather than biological programming. She thinks we can create a galaxy-wide network using quantum entanglement. A network to do what? To understand the Devourer, not fight it, understand it, learn what it really is and what it wants." Min Seok looked around his bridge. His crew had served together for 5 years. They trusted each other completely. But what the general was suggesting sounded impossible. What would happen to us, to humanity? We don't know. The process might kill everyone involved, or it might change us into something entirely different. But if we do nothing, everything dies. Anyway, the tactical display updated again. 3 more civilizations had gone silent. Ancient empires that had seemed eternal, snuffed out like candle flames. Yunji spoke quietly. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the refugee fleet Last Hope. The survivors are requesting emergency council meeting. They want to hear Earth's proposal." Min Seok almost laughed. For thousands of years, the great civilizations had ignored humanity, called them primitive, told them to stay out of important decisions. Now, with their great powers useless and their ancient technologies failing, they were finally ready to listen to the species they had dismissed. "Set course for the refugee fleet," he ordered. "And send a message to Dr. Lee. Tell her she has the galaxy's attention." Finally, as New Sol changed course, Min Seok watched more star systems disappear from the tactical display. Soon, the Devourer would reach human space. When it did, 8 billion people would have to make a choice that no species had ever faced before. Trust everything to an untested theory, or watch the galaxy die. The refugee ship Last Hope was a massive, ugly thing, built from pieces of 100 different worlds. Inside its main meeting hall, the survivors of once great civilizations huddled together like frightened children. Ambassador Jin Ho looked at beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years and now had nowhere left to run. Dr. So Young activated her presentation with steady hands, even though she knew she was about to propose something that sounded insane. The holographic display showed complex brain scans and quantum energy patterns that made the alien survivors lean forward with desperate interest. Lieutenant Dae-ho helped her highlight the important sections. He had volunteered to be her assistant, because someone needed to make the technical details clear to species who thought in completely different ways than humans. "Honored survivors," Dr. So Young began, "our species discovered something unique during our quantum research. While your civilizations developed incredible individual technologies, humans evolved something different. We learned to sacrifice ourselves for others, even strangers. And our brains can connect across impossible distances." The display showed neural mapping data that made several aliens gasp in their own languages. Dr. Yu Jin, part of the research team, pointed to the key findings. "Your hive minds need biological closeness," Dr. Yu Jin explained to the crystalline survivors. "Your reality shapers work alone. Your AI networks think in isolation, but humans can build outward, connecting mind to mind through quantum-paired particles across the entire galaxy." Survivor Tertiary of the crystalline remnants pulsed weakly with bioluminescent doubt. "Impossible. Our hive required physical proximity. How can organic minds link across light years?" "Because we didn't evolve to think as one," Dr. So Young replied. "We evolved to choose to work together. That choice creates quantum resonance patterns that your species never developed." Ambassador Jin Ho stepped forward, knowing this was the moment that would decide everything. "We call it Project Lazarus. Every human becomes a node in a living computer network spanning the galaxy. We won't fight the Devourer with weapons or technology. We'll understand it." Elder Kethmar of the surviving Void Touched spoke with a voice heavy with eons of wisdom and recent defeat. And what becomes of your species in this network? Do you live? Do you die? Do you become something else entirely? Captain Sumin, representing Earth's military, answered with quiet honesty. We don't know. But if we do nothing, everything dies anyway. At least this way, someone might survive to remember what was. The chamber fell completely silent. These beings had once commanded fleets of star-destroying ships. They had bent reality to their will and ruled over billions of worlds. Now their only hope rested with the species they had always called primitive and worthless. A young Zephyrian survivor, her crystal body dim with grief, spoke up. Our reality shapers tried to contain the devourer by changing the laws of physics around it. The entity simply absorbed the changes, made them part of itself. How can organic mind succeed where reality manipulation failed? Dr. So Young smiled, sadly. Because we're not trying to change it or control it. We're trying to communicate with it. Every species that faced the devourer tried to fight. But what if it's not actually our enemy? Not our enemy. Elder Kethmar's ancient voice carried disbelief. It has erased 17 civilizations from existence. Has it? Dr. Yujin pulled up new data. Our long-range sensors detect quantum signatures in the areas where star systems vanished. What if they're not destroyed? What if they're being held somewhere else in some kind of quantum storage? The implications hit the survivors like a physical blow. Captain Min Seok, attending by video link from his ship, spoke for everyone. You're saying the devourer might be preserving things rather than destroying them? We think it's trying to save the galaxy from something, Dr. So Young continued. But we can't know for sure without making contact. And the only way to contact something that powerful is to become powerful ourselves. Not through technology, but through unity. A Metal Brotherhood AI speaking through a damaged robot body processed this information with mechanical precision. Query: what percentage of human population would need to participate for network viability? All of them, Ambassador Jin Ho answered simply. Every human from Earth to the farthest colonies. It only works if we all choose to join willingly. And if some refuse? Jin Ho looked around the chamber at beings who had never understood humanity's greatest strength. Then you don't know humans very well. When everything is lost and others need help, we've never failed to come together. Elder Kethmar studied the quantum data with eyes that had seen the birth and death of stars. How long do you need to establish this network? Dr. So Young looked at her team. They had been working on this theory for years, but putting it into practice with 8 billion people across hundreds of worlds would be the greatest challenge in human history. 72 hours to establish the quantum connections. Every human, colony, every space station, every ship must be linked. We need volunteers to serve as primary nodes, knowing they might not survive the process. And if your theory is wrong, if the devourer simply consumes your network like it consumed everything else? Ambassador Jin Ho stood straighter, feeling the weight of his species' decision. Then at least we'll die trying to save others rather than running away. That's what makes us human. For the first time in the meeting, he saw something besides fear in the alien survivor's eyes. He saw hope. Dr. So Young floated in the neural interface chamber, surrounded by humming quantum field generators. Wires and sensors covered her body, connecting her brain to the massive network spreading across the galaxy. Through the connection, she could feel them all. 8 billion human minds linking together like stars forming a constellation. The sensation was overwhelming. Every human who had volunteered was there in her thoughts. Farmers from Earth's countryside, engineers from Mars colonies, soldiers guarding the outer rim, children too young to understand what was happening but brave enough to trust their parents' choice. Captain Min Seok served as a coordination node from his ship's bridge. His tactical experience flowed through the network, helping organize the massive mental structure. Network stability at 93%, his thoughts rippled to everyone connected. All colonies reporting successful integration. On Earth, General Hyojin had been among the first to join. Her lifetime of military strategy became part of the shared consciousness. Battle plans, supply logistics, troop movements, all of it now belonged to everyone in the network. Lieutenant Deho monitored the Devourer's approach from an observation post near the outer rim. Contact in 6 hours, his mind reported to the network. The entity's scanning patterns suggest it's curious about us, like it's never encountered anything like our network before. Through the quantum connection, Dr. So Young felt Engineer Tae-hyun's analysis flowing from research stations throughout human space. His mechanical expertise merged with thousands of other engineers, creating insights no single mind could achieve. It's not evil. Tae-hyun's realization spread through 8 billion minds at once. The energy signatures show purpose, not malice. It's responding to something it sees as wrong with the galaxy. Navigator Yoonji's spatial awareness, amplified by connection to every human pilot and navigator, mapped the Devourer's path through the consumed star systems. The network saw patterns that individual analysis had missed. Look at the route it's taking. Her thoughts shared complex star charts with everyone. It's not random destruction. It's following some kind of logic, almost like medical treatment. As the Devourer reached the outer human colonies, Captain Sumin and her volunteers made the ultimate choice. Instead of fighting or running, they opened their minds completely to the approaching entity. They offered themselves as a bridge between humanity and something beyond understanding. The pain was indescribable. Dr. So Young felt it through the network as the Devourer's awareness touched human consciousness for the first time. It was like staring into the heart of a star while drowning in an ocean of pure thought. But with the pain came revelation. Dr. Yu Jin, analyzing the contact through her connection to thousands of scientists, gasped as understanding flooded the network. It's not a destroyer, it's a doctor. The galaxy is sick and it's trying to heal it. Through Captain Sumin's sacrifice, the network experienced what the Devourer saw when it looked at the galaxy. Endless wars between species. Civilizations hoarding resources while others starved. Ancient empires built on conquest and exploitation. From the entity's perspective, the galaxy was infected with a disease called selfishness. The Devourer's attacks weren't destruction. They were surgery. It was trying to cut out the infected parts and preserve what could be saved until the galaxy learned to be healthy. Ambassador Jin Ho, his consciousness now expanded beyond anything he had imagined, reached across space and time itself, not to fight the Devourer, but to speak with it as one thinking being to another. The contact was like two universes touching. The Devourer's mind was vast and ancient, born from the galaxy's own immune system, when the first civilizations began their endless cycles of war and destruction. It had watched species rise and fall for billions of years, each one eventually succumbing to the same patterns of greed and violence. We understand now. Jinho's thoughts carried the voice of all humanity. You've seen this pattern before. Species that grow powerful but never grow wise. The Devourer's response flowed through the network like a cosmic sigh. Always the same. They build weapons instead of bridges. They conquer instead of cooperate. I preserve what I can, hoping someday for something different. Through the network, every human felt the entity's profound sadness. It had never wanted to be a destroyer. It was the galaxy's desperate attempt to save itself from civilizations that couldn't learn to live together. Dr. So Young became humanity's translator in that impossible conversation. But we are different, look at us. We're not perfect, we fought wars, made terrible mistakes. But we learned to choose cooperation over conquest. Engineer Tae-hyun's memories of human space exploration flowed through the connection. Unlike other species that expanded through military force, humans had spread through the galaxy by helping others, sharing technology, building communities. We explore to connect, not to conquer, Navigator Yoonji's thoughts added. We fight to protect others, not to take what belongs to them. The Devourer paused in its advance, its massive consciousness processing what it felt through the human network. For the first time in cosmic history, it encountered a species that had learned to sacrifice for strangers, to unite in crisis rather than fragment into competing factions. Through Captain Sumin's willing sacrifice, The entity experienced something it had never felt before. Beings choosing to die not for territory or resources, but simply for the right of others to exist. The galaxy's immune system had finally found what it was looking for. A species that could teach other civilizations how to be healthy instead of just cutting out the diseased parts. Everything was about to change. In the space between reality and nothingness, Dr. So-Young's mind touched something impossibly vast and ancient. The Devourer's consciousness was like an ocean of stars, each one carrying the memory of a civilization that had risen and fallen. Through the human network, she felt its overwhelming sadness. The entity wasn't a monster. It was the galaxy's own child, born from billions of years of watching species destroy themselves and each other. Every time a civilization learned to split atoms, they built bombs. Every time they reached the stars, they brought war with them. The pattern never changed. Captain Minseok, his thoughts now part of 8 billion minds, understood first. You're not trying to destroy us. You're trying to save us from ourselves. Through the quantum network, every human felt the Devourer's ancient pain. It had been forced to watch the same tragedy play out countless times. Species would grow powerful, then use that power to hurt others. The entity's only choice was to preserve what it could before everything was lost to endless war. General Hyojin's military mind, expanded by the network connection, saw the truth in the entity's memories. Every civilization that faced you tried to fight. None of them ever tried to understand. Lieutenant Daeho's sensor readings, interpreted through billions of connected minds, revealed something incredible. The star systems that had vanished weren't destroyed. They were being held in a kind of cosmic storage, waiting for the galaxy to learn a better way to live. The Devourer had been collecting civilizations like a doctor collecting samples, hoping someday to find a cure for the galaxy's sickness. But every species it encountered had the same disease, the inability to truly cooperate with others. Ambassador Jin Ho became humanity's voice in that impossible space between thoughts. We understand your pain. You've been alone for so long, watching the same mistakes over and over. The entity's response flowed through the network like gentle rain after a drought. Alone, yes, always alone. They fight me or flee from me, but none ever speak to me. Dr. Yujin's research flowed through the shared consciousness, showing the Devourer something it had never seen before. Humans had fought terrible wars, made horrible mistakes, nearly destroyed their own planet, but they had learned from their failures instead of repeating them forever. Look at our history. Engineer Taehyun's memories joined the communication. We were violent and selfish for thousands of years, but we grew beyond that. We learned to help instead of hurt. Through Navigator Yoonji's expanded awareness, the Devourer saw how humans explored space, not as conquerors seeking new territories to control, but as explorers wanting to meet new friends. When humans found other species, they offered help before asking for anything in return. The cosmic entity began to change. Its destructive energy slowly transformed into something creative and warm. For the first time in billions of years, it felt hope instead of despair. Captain Suman's sacrifice had shown the Devourer something that no other species possessed: the willingness to die for strangers, not for land or resources or power, but simply because other beings deserve to live. We can teach them. Dr. So-Young's thoughts reached across the galaxy. All the species you've preserved, we can show them how to work together instead of fighting. The Devourer's joy was like a supernova of pure emotion flowing through the human network. Yes, finally, yes. I have waited so long for teachers instead of warriors. Across the galaxy, impossible things began to happen. The quantum-suspended star systems started emerging from their cosmic storage, but they weren't the same as before. The Devourer's power had connected them, creating bridges of energy and understanding between worlds that had never trusted each other. Dr. So-Young felt the network evolving beyond anything humans had imagined. They weren't just connected to each other anymore. They were becoming living links between all the species the Devourer had preserved, helping them understand each other for the first time. The Zephyrians, with their reality-bending powers, learned to create beauty instead of weapons. The crystalline collective discovered they could share thoughts with other species, not just their own kind. The ancient void touched found new purpose in protecting younger civilizations instead of hiding in isolation. Through the human network, species that had been enemies for millions of years began to see each other as they really were. Frightened children in a vast universe, all wanting the same basic things. Safety for their families, food to eat, a chance to grow and learn. The Devourer had become what it was always meant to be, not the galaxy's destroyer, but its gardener, using its incredible power to help civilizations grow healthy and strong, guided by human wisdom about cooperation and sacrifice. Ambassador Jin Ho felt the network stabilizing into something permanent and beautiful. Humans would always be the bridges between species, helping them understand each other when fear and pride got in the way. As the transformation completed, the Devourer spoke one final time through the quantum connection. I was born from the galaxy's pain, but you have taught me joy. Now I can nurture instead of destroy, heal instead of hurt. The galaxy lives because you showed me it was ready to be healthy. Dr. So Young opened her eyes in the neural interface chamber, still connected to 8 billion human minds and countless alien species through the cosmic network. The galaxy was saved not through violence or superior technology, but through the simple human truth that everyone deserves to live and grow. Ambassador Jin Ho's final report to the new Galactic Council was written in the hearts of every being in the network. When all was lost, humanity delivered salvation by teaching the galaxy's own immune system that we were finally ready to be well. The universe had learned to heal itself through the power of understanding, sacrifice, and hope.